As we enter 2026, a flagship Mercedes-Benz EQS is losing upwards of $60,000 in value during a single lease cycle. An Audi e-tron GT can shed nearly $80,000 in its first 12 months. This contradicts everything we know about German luxury. For decades, buying a Mercedes or BMW was an act of financial competence. You paid a premium up front, but you bought into an asset class defined by retention and engineering heritage. That era has ended. We're witnessing the structural liquidation of German automotive prestige. This is not normal depreciation. It's a financial bloodbath turning the ultimate driving machine into a liability. The cause is not merely reliability issues or controversial styling. It's a price war originating 4,000 miles away in Shanghai, where a ruthless efficiency gap is forcing German automakers to slash prices on new models. This creates a ripple effect that's instantly incinerating the value of the used ones sitting in your driveway. How did a factory floor in Shenzhen destroy the residual value of a BMW parked in Texas? It wasn't a slow decline, it was a coordinated liquidation. And it all started with a $10,500 gap that the Germans never saw coming. Welcome to Bare Block Chronicles. This is where we audit the mechanics of global wealth to show you what is actually happening to your money. The panic at your local dealership isn't captured on a sales chart. It's hidden in the factory math of a company called BYD. For 20 years, German manufacturers like Volkswagen and BMW used China as a profit sanctuary. They sold combustion engine vehicles at high margins to a growing middle class that revered Western engineering. That dynamic funded their global operations. But in late 2025, the sanctuary became a slaughterhouse. The catalyst was a tear-down analysis conducted by UBS, that is, the Union Bank of Switzerland, one of the world's largest wealth managers. They dismantled a BYD Seal, a direct competitor to the BMW i4 and Tesla Model 3, and analyzed it component by component. The findings were devastating for the European auto industry. The report revealed that the Chinese sedan had a production cost advantage of approximately $10,500 per unit compared to its European rivals. This gap was not solely due to cheaper labor, it was due to extreme vertical integration. While a company like BMW relies on a complex, expensive web of Tier 1 suppliers such as Bosch and Continental, BYD manufactures roughly 75% of its components in-house. That means they make their own computer chips, their own motors, and most importantly, their own batteries using the Blade architecture, which is a proprietary design that's safer and cheaper than standard packs. This eliminates the margin stacking that plagues Western supply chains. Every time a German part moves from a supplier to the assembly line, a profit margin is added. BYD removes those layers. This $10,000 gap is not just a statistic, it's a war chest. It allows Chinese manufacturers to absorb tariffs, fund aggressive marketing, and dictate the global pricing floor. We call this the China price. It effectively caps what a consumer is willing to pay for a kilowatt hour of range. When a consumer in Europe can buy a high specification MG or BYD for 30% less than a comparable Volkswagen, the Volkswagen is no longer a premium product. It is simply overpriced. This reality has forced German executives into a corner. By the third quarter of 2025, the big three German automakers saw combined operating profits decline by the largest margin in 16 years. They've lost their pricing power. To move metal in China, they had to engage in a brutal price war, which they were structurally ill-equipped to win. But the damage didn't stay in Shanghai. Because the automotive market is globally connected by information and arbitrage. The devaluation of the German brand in the world's largest car market sent a signal to the rest of the world. The market has decided these cars are no longer worth the sticker price. China created a structural cost gap that sets the global EV price floor, that forces Germany to discount to compete. But the real damage starts when that deflation gets exported into Europe. The mechanism destroying your resale value is called global price arbitrage. It works like a contagion. When Chinese manufacturers faced overcapacity in their domestic market, they turned to exports. They began flooding Europe and other regions with inventory, effectively exporting deflation. Looking at 2025 data, the market share of Chinese electric vehicles in the European Union doubled, driven by models like the BYD Seal U and the MG HS. This influx has turned European ports like Antwerp and Zeebrugge into overflowing parking lots, clogged with thousands of unsold Chinese EVs waiting for buyers. German dealerships are now sitting on a glut of inventory that they cannot move at the old prices. To clear the lots, OEMs have resorted to trunk money. This is an industry term for unadvertised dealer cash incentives. A manufacturer might not publicly lower the MSRP to avoid embarrassing headlines, but they will quietly offer dealers up to $10,000 per unit to help close deals. This is the math that kills your resale value. Auction price is based on real transactions, not sticker price fantasy. If a new car with a $100,000 MSRP is quietly selling for $85,000 due to trunk money, the wholesale market treats $85,000 as the true ceiling. Every used unit is instantly repriced downward to match that new reality. Wholesale buyers at auctions run by Mannheim or Odessa know the real transaction prices. They won't bid on a used model based on the fantasy MSRP. They bid based on the discounted reality. To stop this bleeding, German OEMs tried to deploy a shield known as the agency model. The plan was to centralize pricing, strip dealers of discounting power, and force the market to pay MSRP. It failed. Dealers in the UK and Germany rebelled, and the deflationary pressure was too strong. BMW was forced to delay its full rollout until 2027, admitting that, in a price war, you cannot dictate terms to the market. To hide this demand collapse, the industry turned to tactical registrations. We call this supply laundering. Dealers register new cars to themselves for a single day to count them as sold in official statistics, then dump them as used with 0 miles at massive discounts. In 2025 alone, this accounted for 143,000 BEV registrations in Germany. This artificial supply floods the secondary market, competing directly with genuine trade-ins and driving values down further. Europe is now absorbing price deflation through inventory and hidden incentives, instantly repricing used comms. Now the US adds rocket fuel because lease structures can stack incentives and delay the crash until the cars come back. In the United States, this depreciation disaster is being accelerated by a specific regulatory quirk known as the lease loophole. Under Section 45W of the Inflation Reduction Act, commercial vehicles are exempt from the North American assembly requirements that usually disqualify German EVs from federal subsidies. Here is the 5-step ladder that turns a tax credit into a liability. 1. German EVs are ineligible for federal purchase subsidies because they're made overseas. 2. Manufacturers use the Section 45W loophole to classify leased cars as commercial fleet, unlocking the $7,500 credit. 3. They stack this credit with $10,000 in trunk money to lower the lease price on day 1. 4. To lower payments further, they set an artificially high residual value, pretending the car will still be worth 55% in 3 years. 5. That lease matures in 2026. The car returns and the finance arm realizes it is worth $20,000 less than they predicted. When these leases mature throughout 2026 and 2027, thousands of German EVs will return to the dealers. The contract says they are worth $55,000. The market might value them at $35,000. This gap represents a massive financial liability for the lending arms of companies like BMW and Volkswagen. It guarantees a crash in used values as they attempt to liquidate this inventory. This has spilled over into consumer finance, creating a toxic negative equity trap. According to Edmunds data from late 2025, the share of trade-ins involving negative equity hit 29.3%, the highest level in years. The average amount owed on underwater trade-ins climbed to over $7,000. For luxury owners, it's worse. Reports suggest owners of high-trim German EVs are finding themselves underwater by $15,000 to $20,000. The trade-in treadmill on which the luxury industry relies has broken. Usually, a customer trades in their car after 3 years, uses the equity as a down payment, and rolls the balance into a new one. Now, the customer is trapped. Banks are tightening lending standards and refusing to finance 130% of a new car's value to cover the old debt. This removes a core demographic from the new car market exactly when German OEMs need to move volume to satisfy their factories. Incentives moved metal in 2025, but the bill comes due as leases mature in 2026 and 2027. So the question becomes simple: how do you avoid being the person holding the bag? If you are navigating this market, here are the 4 rules of engagement. Rule 1. If buying new, lease. You're buying a put option on the car's value. Transfer the depreciation risk to the manufacturer. If the market collapses further due to a new wave of Chinese imports, you simply hand the keys back and walk away. Rule 2. If buying used, buy the warranty, not just the badge. The repair costs on these complex high-voltage systems are ruinous. We're seeing quotes for battery replacements on models like the Audi e-tron GT topping $36,000. Ensure any purchase is backed by a certified pre-owned warranty. Rule 3. If you own one now, check your equity before you trade. Do not roll negative equity into a new loan. That is a trap you cannot math your way out of. Rule 4. Ignore the MSRP. The real price is the invoice price minus the incentive stack. Watch the day's supply metrics. Inventory levels for German luxury brands in the US have ballooned to over 60 days. Dealers are paying interest on this metal every day it sits. Use this leverage. Even fleet operators are seeing the writing on the wall. Sixt, the German rental giant recently dropped Tesla from its fleet due to high depreciation, and instead signed a deal to purchase 100,000 vehicles from BYD. This is a profound vote of no confidence in Western EV residuals. The badge still sells emotion, but the market is pricing the hardware like a commodity. If you want to win, you have to buy the incentives, not the story. The China price has become the new global benchmark for automotive value, and the German premium is the casualty. The market is re-rating these companies from manufacturers of appreciating luxury goods to purveyors of depreciating hardware. The badge on the hood still commands respect on the Autobahn, but in the auction lane it has lost its immunity. For the consumer, the era of the German car as a safe store of wealth is over. This is Bare Block Chronicles. If you want to stay ahead of the next asset shift, subscribe and turn on notifications. We will see you in the next audit.